Thanks for joining us for the CBN News Channel. I'm Ephraim Graham.
And I'm Heather Sells. A powerful quake off the coast of Japan spawned a tsunami that ripped into the coast and even put out parts of the U.S. on alert. Tsunami warnings stretched to Hawaii, Alaska, and even California. Meanwhile, the death toll in Japan is rising, with more than 30 confirmed dead so far, and more than 4 million are without power. Charlene Israel has more from the newsroom.
The massive quake was bad enough, but it also triggered a huge tsunami that swept across Japan's northern coast, wiping out everything in its path. Huge tsunami waves, some as high as 33 feet, swept away boats, cars, and buildings. The powerful waves even reversed the direction of a river. Tsunami warnings were issued across the Pacific, including Hawaii, California, and the entire U.S. West Coast, as well as Canada and even South America. In Hawaii, tsunami warning sirens sounded in Honolulu as officials told people along the coast to evacuate.
I don't think this one is going to be something that has really huge effects here in terms of, wiping out the coast, but it's certainly still quite a danger.
Reports indicate the initial quake rocked Japan for a whopping 4 minutes. This video shows Japanese lawmakers in session at the time the quake hit. This newsroom in Cindy also captured the power of the quake. The initial tremor was so strong it could be felt as far away as Beijing, China. Fires triggered by the quake burned out of control. This one at an oil refinery near Tokyo had 100-foot-high flames whipping into the air. Workers evacuated high-rises and filled the streets. Millions are without power. I thought I was going to die. It was enormous. The quake has been followed by at least 19 aftershocks.
It's interesting you were just mentioning some of the aftershocks, and we're actually feeling one as I'm sitting here talking to you.
President Obama issued a statement early this morning saying, "Michelle and I send our deepest condolences to the people of Japan. The United States stands ready to help the Japanese people in this time of great trial." Charlene Israel, CBN News.
And it looks like Japan has dodged a potential nuclear catastrophe. The Japanese government issued a state of emergency at a nuclear power plant after its cooling system failed. But a spokesman says there was no radiation leak.
And joining us now via Skype is Rick Justice, a missionary to Japan. Rick, I understand that you and your family live in Shimada, about 2 hours south of Tokyo. How strong was the quake where you are?
The strength of the quake here was registered about a 4, and it lasted longer than any we've ever experienced before, which was about 4 minutes. There was quite a bit of swaying, which was very interesting.
Indeed, indeed. Now, quakes common, you said this has not felt like something you've felt before. The length of it different?
Right, the length was definitely different. You could tell, since there are regular quakes, you could tell there was something different about this one.
Are the people in your family and in your congregation, we know you're a pastor, are they safe?
Yes, the people here are. We have missionary friends in the area that was affected, and of course many up in the Tokyo area that we were concerned about, but most of them seem to be okay. One family has 3 aunts in the area of the tsunami they have not been able to contact yet.
Of course, we know everyone's certainly emotionally shaken as well. How will the Japanese people respond to this, and how will Christians there respond to the tragedy?
Well, the people themselves have been prepared, from the time they're small children to deal with these kind of things, although, this intensity is different. There'll be a lot of sadness, of course. It's a good chance for us as Christians to reach out to them compassionately, like we did in the Kobe earthquake. There'll be many chances to take blankets and food and other kinds of things and just establish a caring presence in the midst of the tragedy.
Good deal. Really quickly, how can viewers be praying for your ministry and the people of Japan?
Well, for the people of Japan, since it's still one of the largest unreached people groups, we would appreciate all prayers for their salvation, of course, and that we'd just have wisdom to know exactly how we can help in the best possible way.
Indeed, indeed. Rick Justice, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time, and our prayers to you and your family.
Well, you're so welcome. God bless you.
Earthquakes have triggered major tsunamis in many parts of the world over the years. Here's a look at some of the worst. An 8.8 magnitude quake shook Chile in February of last year, generating a tsunami that killed 524 people. Back in December of 2004, a 9.0 magnitude quake triggered the infamous Indian Ocean tsunami. It killed 230,000 people in a dozen countries. And in August of 1976, at least 5,000 people were killed when a magnitude 8.0 earthquake hit the Philippines, generating a tsunami.
An earthquake has also hit southwestern China. The tremor measured at a magnitude of 5.8 and has left 25 people dead. Traffic security camera video shows the ground shaking the moment the quake struck. It toppled more than 18,000 homes and apartment buildings in China's southwest near the border of Myanmar. Hundreds of people were injured and tens of thousands have been evacuated to shelters.
Thursday's controversial hearings on terrorism and the American Muslim community broke down into a partisan fight, with critics accusing Republicans of trying to vilify American Muslims. John Jessup brings us some of the dramatic testimony.
The purpose of the hearing was to look into how some American Muslims are being radicalized and turned to terror. But a theme running throughout was the legitimacy of even investigating terrorists all tied to one religion. Democrat Sheila Jackson Lee said that only bolsters al-Qaeda's claim that America is anti-Islamic.
President Obama recognized that through our words and deeds, we can either play into al-Qaeda narrative and messaging, or we can challenge it and thereby undermine it. We are determined to undermine it. This hearing today is playing into al-Qaeda right now around the world.
The Republican congressman who called the hearing disagreed.
Let me make it clear today that I remain convinced that these hearings must go forward, and they will. To back down would be a craven surrender to political correctness and an abdication of what I believe to be the main responsibility of this committee, to protect America from a terrorist attack.
Emotions ran high on both sides of the issue. Muslim Congressman Keith Ellison condemned the hearing and talked tearfully about a Muslim paramedic who died rescuing people on 9/11.
Mohammed Salman Hamdani was a fellow American who gave his life for other Americans. His life should not be identified as just a member of an ethnic group or just a member of a religion, but as an American who gave everything for his fellow Americans.
On the other side, Melvin Bledsoe, who talked about his son Carlos, how he was lured and radicalized by al-Qaeda in Yemen, and how he eventually murdered an Army recruiter in Arkansas. He said Americans must wake up to the threat of what's happening to its Muslim children.
If I can save one other child from going through what my family gone through, or the victim family went through, then I think my trip here to this committee was worthwhile.
One of the hearing's opponents went to the heart of their concern and asked a pro-hearing Muslim if all Muslims in America should be singled out by the police.
I don't agree with blind profiling. That's unconstitutional. However, smart law enforcement that doesn't waste our resources on investigating people that would not have a high propensity towards radicalization, I think, is smart also.
Congressman King insists this is only the first in a series of upcoming hearings. John Jessup, CBN News, Washington.
CBN terrorism analyst Eric Stakelback was at the hearings Thursday. He says the hearings did break down along party lines, but some good points came out of the testimony.
Every Democrat on the Homeland Security Committee, to a man, came out and voiced their opposition to even holding these hearings. They say that it's an anti-Muslim witch hunt, that it's racist, that it marginalizes and demonizes the entire Islamic community. Every Republican on the committee had the opposite view, so it broke down along political lines. And to me, that's unfortunate, because national security, Islamic terrorism, which affects every American, should not be a political football. The other thing I take from this hearing was Islamic ideology. The ideology that inspires terrorism was never mentioned. I think a good thing that did come out of the hearings, however, was that CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is probably the most influential radical Islamist group in America came under the microscope in these hearings from congressmen and from witnesses as being on the wrong side in this war against global jihad and being really enablers of Islamic terrorism. Eric Stakelbeck, CBN News from the Capitol.
The U.S. Army is reprimanding 9 officers for failing to take early action against the man accused of the Fort Hood murders. A Pentagon review of the shooting found that Major Nidal Hasan's supervisors expressed concerns about his behavior, but continued to promote him. The Army is reviewing the evaluation process.
The popular protests sweeping across the Middle East could spread to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Some took to the streets in protest Thursday, but police opened fire on the protesters, leaving at least 1 man injured. More than 30,000 people are backing a Facebook page calling for Day of Rage demonstrations in 2 cities today. Day of Rage protests are also expected to take place in Bahrain and Yemen.
Coming up, driven by faith, abortion opponents hope their cross-country caravan will stop Planned Parenthood.
Have you ever had an idea for an invention or new product? Bill Schaefer, one of the inventors of Wham-O's new Splash Wash, did. He came up with the idea while watching his children play one hot summer afternoon. Bill invented a car wash for kids. Ride through it, run through it. InventHelp submitted the Splash Wash to Wham-O, the makers of childhood favorites like the Frisbee, Hula Hoop, and Slip and Slide. If you have an invention you would like to try to patent and submit to corporations and want free information that explains how InventHelp may be able to assist you, call now. InventHelp is America's largest invention company with sales offices in over 50 cities nationwide. Call InventHelp today for free information. Bill Schaefer made a financial gain on the Splash Wash. However, most inventions are not successful, and Bill's experience is not typical of what inventors can expect.
For your free inventor's information, call 1-800-260-7793. That's 1-800-260-7793.
I've fallen and I can't get up. I need help.
When you are home alone and have a bad fall where you cannot move, you are stuck in a very limited area. If you cannot reach a phone, you may lay helpless on the floor for hours or days, which can result in permanent incapacitation or death.
This waterproof pendant is my magic wand. To some of the paramedics, fire department, police, or my doctor, it contacts Life Alert.
When you have a heart attack like I did, and there's no one there, Life Alert was there for me. I couldn't handle the alternative of going to a nursing home.
Thanks to Life Alert, you can live alone without ever being alone. And that's why I wear one.
New Life Alert Classic for seniors or Life Alert 50+.
Please call 1-800-586-0025 for a free brochure about Life Alert. That's 1-800-586-0025. Call us toll-free now at 1-800-586-0025. That number again, 1-800-586-0025.
Despite protests from voters and politicians, Wisconsin's budget bill has made its way to the governor's office. In a 53-42 vote, the state assembly approved the bill stripping most collective bargaining rights from state's public workers. Governor Scott Walker applauded the vote, saying it will save jobs, protect taxpayers, reform government, and help balance the budget.
On November 2nd, people spoke very clearly and very loudly and said that they wanted government to change here in Madison. And that's what we're accomplishing, that first part of that message today.
Democrats and union leaders opposed the bill. They're pledging to launch a major counterattack against Republicans at the ballot box in 2012.
Defunding Planned Parenthood is a key part of a budget debate taking place in Washington. Pro-life activists are turning up the heat on that organization. A group of women is on a cross-country campaign to stop taxpayer funding of America's largest abortion provider. John Jessup caught up with the women during a stop in Pennsylvania.
Call it the Exposed Planned Parenthood Express, a charter bus whose passengers are on a mission to draw attention to the abortion debate and call on elected officials to join their cause.
That's why we care about who gets elected. Laws save lives. And we know that defunding Planned Parenthood is going to save lives of innocent unborn children.
Former Republican Congresswoman Marilyn Musgrave, now with the pro-life group Susan B. Anthony List, leads the week-long tour. By the time they wrap up, they will hit about a dozen stops in 7 states.
Pro-life advocates feel momentum is on their side. With a new GOP-controlled House that has made defunding Planned Parenthood one of its top priorities, they want to make sure pro-abortion lawmakers hear their message loud and clear.
Planned Parenthood does not speak for women.
At this rally just north of Philadelphia, the group thanked Pennsylvania Congressman Mike Fitzpatrick and Patrick Meehan for the recent House votes to defund Planned Parenthood. They believe voter outrage over out-of-control spending in Washington should mean the end of taxpayer funding for Planned Parenthood. They say especially in light of recent undercover video involving Planned Parenthood workers and actors posing as juvenile victims of sex trafficking.
Instead of being rescued and protected, instead of being the abuse being reported, these clinics are covering up the abuse and are facilitating the abuse with these secret abortions and with these powerful hormonal drugs.
The campaign triggered a counter tour, with Planned Parenthood supporters protesting at the same exact stops.
Without Planned Parenthood, there's many women that wouldn't be able to afford their regular checkups, that wouldn't be able to afford monthly birth control, and it would be devastating for all women.
But pro-life leaders say there's a simple solution.
If you really want to just do women's services, just separate the two. It's very easy to do, and don't ask our tax dollars to fund abortion, period.
They want the Senate to follow the House's lead and say they'll continue applying pressure and rolling ahead with the 2012 elections in their sights. John Jessup, CBN News, Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
The federal government is teaming up with a leading magazine to make sure teenagers keep their eyes and their minds on the road. The Department of Transportation and Consumer Reports unveiled a new advertising campaign to fight distracted driving. It is aimed at stopping texting while driving. A person texting while driving is 23 times more likely to be in a crash. Teenagers are also 3 times more likely to be involved in fatal accidents than other drivers. Still, only about 30% of teenagers think it is dangerous to text and drive.
Up next, deceived by a gay reporter why this Christian counselor could lose her job simply for doing her job.
Starting a garden doesn't have to be backbreaking. Not when you have the Mantis Tiller Cultivator. It does all the hard work for you. The Mantis Tiller weighs about 20 pounds. It's easy for anyone to handle. 3 convenient power options spin the patented tines deep into the soil. They dig down, cutting through the hardest clay and tangled weeds. They're so tough, they're actually guaranteed never to break. And on our 2-cycle model, Mantis offers the Fast Start engine option. It's our easiest starting 2-cycle tiller ever. Tilling, weeding, and cultivating have never been easier. And now you can get this amazing Mantis Tiller Cultivator at huge savings. Order now, and we include a kickstand accessory, this border edger attachment, and free shipping. Use the Mantis for a full year, and if you're not delighted, return it for a prompt, no questions asked refund.
Call 1-800-707-2105 today for a free DVD and information kit. That's 1-800-707-2105.
Attention those on Medicare with diabetes. You may be eligible for an upgraded meter.
If you're tired of stabbing your fingertips to test your blood glucose, we have news that could change your life. If you're on Medicare with diabetes, then you need to know there's an alternative method for checking your blood glucose every day. You don't need to stab your fingertips anymore. The Embrace meter from Diabetes Care Club is easier to use and nearly painless. And the best news is that Diabetes Care Club would love to send you one of these meters. This method hurts less, and because you can see and hear your results, it may be easier to understand.
Your blood glucose reading is 89.
Call now to find out why. Nearly 250,000 patients have joined Diabetes Care Club. Membership is free, so is the call.
Call 1-800-833-8011.
Talk to Diabetes Care Club. You'll be glad you did.
Britain is developing its own form of free speech. You can mock the Bible and make fun of Christians.
But you better not dare suggest that homosexuals can change or you could lose your job. Dale Hurd has this report from London.
Christian therapist Leslie Pilkington's career may be over because she tried to help a homosexual man who said he wanted to leave the gay lifestyle. The incident happened in 2009.
I was approached by a young man who said that his name was Matthew Stins, actually, and that he was gay, he was very unhappy, and he was depressed, and he wanted to leave the lifestyle, and would I be able to help him?
But his real name was not Matthew Stins. It was Patrick Strudwick, and he was lying about why he had come to her.
And to be quite honest, I totally believed everything that he said. I had no reason to suspect anything else. He seemed to me to be very anxious. He kept asking a lot of the same questions, but I thought that was because he was just trying to decide if this was the right therapist for him.
Leslie says that throughout 2 counseling sessions, Patrick made it clear that he wanted to leave the gay lifestyle. What she didn't know was that he was an undercover journalist, and he had a tape recorder strapped to his body.
Then the counseling sessions ended, and Leslie's professional nightmare began.
And he then telephoned me to say that, in fact, he was not at all who he said he was. His voice completely changed. He said that he had just lied about everything, his name, address, occupation, that he wasn't unhappy at all, that he was a gay journalist, he was happy in his gay lifestyle, and that his purpose was to expose me and people like me.
And he wrote about his experience with Leslie in 2 of Britain's biggest papers. Pilkington now faces disciplinary proceedings by the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy. Among her transgressions, praying to God to heal Strudwick of his homosexuality, and having an agenda that homosexuality is wrong. She could lose her accreditation. Andrea Williams heads the Christian Legal Center, which is helping Pilkington.
If you believe that a homosexual can change their behaviour, you will lose your job. You will be disabused of your position. You will lose your professional accreditation.
The gay agenda is one of the most potent political movements in the United Kingdom, even though according to a poll there are not very many homosexuals in Britain. Only 1.5% of the population. That's 750,000 homosexuals in a nation of 60 million people.
There's been an incredible shift in our nation, but in our media and particularly in our law, that treats the whole homosexual issue, the whole gay agenda, as something that absolutely equivalent to race.
They call it human rights, and they use these grand terms like tolerance and diversity. There's a hard-nosed political agenda of which an objective appears to be to remove Judeo-Christian morality from the public realm.
The British government has approved a plan to insert homosexual themes throughout school curricula, even math, to help children view homosexuality as normal. Meanwhile, the British High Court has ruled in a landmark case that Christian beliefs on sexual ethics may be harmful to children. One of the riskier things to say in Britain today, especially if you're a therapist, is that homosexuals are not born that way, or that homosexuals can become heterosexual. After Strudwick's undercover investigation, the British Medical Association decided to brand gay conversion therapy as harmful. Strudwick told CBN News that gay people in Britain are, as they are everywhere, at risk of hate, intolerance, and persecution. He said there is no empirical evidence conversion therapy works, and there is plenty of evidence that conversion therapy does damage. He added that love needs no cure. Diamond and Pilkington say conversion therapy works.
People do change after treatment, and it has a high success rate, and there's no evidence of any harm. That is actually the evidence.
The science actually backs up the Word of God. And as Christians, it's to be encouraged to hear that science is backing up the Word of God, and that you are not born that way.
Pilkington, who has a son who is gay, waits to see if she will be banned from ever counseling again. She believes God is taking her through this experience and using it in people's lives.
I also feel that the Lord's giving me an opportunity in that to try and speak to those who are in a homosexual lifestyle but who are unhappy. And really the message is that you're not born that way. You don't have to stay in that lifestyle. There's hope. And that's a really important message for today, that there's hope.
Dale Hurd, CBN News, London.
It's a powerful story.
Yeah, very eye-opening indeed. Eye-opening.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Millions of women worldwide love Bare Minerals.
This is smooth, it's nice, and it covers. I like that.
Only Bare Minerals looks like beautiful bare skin, while it covers whatever you want it to. And now you can get our latest kit with our totally new, totally spill-proof Click Lock Go foundation for over 75% off retail. Our new kit comes with Bare Minerals foundation in the shade that's just right for you. Warmth for a healthy glow. Mineral Veil, the ultimate finishing touch. And Bare Minerals Flawless Application Brush. Call now and get 3 full-size gifts worth $57.95 free. Purchased separately, you'd spend over $120. Our original Get Started kit was a great deal at 2 payments of $29.99. But now you can get all this for just 1 payment of $29.99. Save over $90 and get a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Call 1-800-376-4174. Ask how you can receive this handy compact. Call 1-800-376-4174 now.
If you have diabetes and you're on Medicare, call now for a new pain-free meter. These new meters are more accurate, they're easier to use, and the best news is you don't have to prick your fingers anymore. Call now and Arriva Medical will send you one of these new meters for free. And if you have Medicare, your testing supplies may also be covered. Arriva makes it simple. They bill Medicare directly. There are no upfront costs. And they deliver your supplies right to your door for free. With these new meters, there's no coding, you don't have to prick your fingers, and some of these meters even talk.
Your blood glucose reading is 122.
And if you call 1-800-284-9762, we will send you a free Betty Crocker Diabetes Cookbook filled with delicious recipes.
Call Arriva today. You'd be glad you did.
Now, an update on our top story this morning. A massive 8.9 earthquake rocked Japan today, spawning a huge tsunami that swept across Japan's northern coast. The death toll is climbing by the hour. At least 60 people are known dead. Stay with the CBN News Channel throughout the day for the latest news about the quake's aftermath. And finally today, a Kentucky couple has a lot to be thankful for after an SUV crashes into their house directly into the room of their sleeping baby.
Miraculously, the 10-month-old survived the crash with only a few minor scratches. Kenny and Shasta Enright were in their living room when they heard the screeching tires and a loud crash.
It's like God put a steel bubble around her because she was in just this little tiny hole right up underneath the front bumper. Police officers asked me if I named her Miracle. I said no. And I said, well, you should have, because it's a miracle she made it out of it alive.
The parents say their little girl recovered quickly and is already acting like her normal self.
She'll never know until her parents tell her someday.
Indeed.
That's all for this hour of the CBN News Channel. You can find more of today's top headlines, quake coverage, along with our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
Stay up to date with CBN News through Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you here next time. Have a wonderful weekend.
Have you ever had an idea for an invention or new product? Bill Schaefer, one of the inventors of Wham-O's new Splash Wash, did. He came up with the idea while watching his children play one hot summer afternoon. Bill invented a car wash for kids. Ride through it, run through it. InventHelp submitted the Splash Wash to Wham-O, the makers of childhood favorites like the Frisbee, Hula Hoop, and Slip and Slide. If you have an invention you would like to try to patent and submit to corporations and want free information that explains how InventHelp may be able to assist you, call now. InventHelp is America's largest invention company with sales offices in over 50 cities nationwide. Call InventHelp today for free information. Bill Schaefer made a financial gain on the Splash Wash. However, most inventions are not successful, and Bill's experience is not typical of what inventors can expect.
For your free inventor's information, call 1-800-260-7793. That's 1-800-260-7793.
Finding video on CBN.com just got easier. We've taken all our video, the 700 Club, news, testimonies, teachings, plus our 24/7 channels, and put them in one convenient location, CBN TV. Watch what you want, when you want. It's all simple to find, and now easier than ever to email a story to a friend. CBN TV on CBN.com.